In this video, we will show you how to replace your camshaft position sensor. Let's get started. Okay friends, since we're going to be disconnecting an electrical connector, it's important to make sure you disconnect the negative battery terminal first. To do that, we'll use a 10mm wrench. Loosen this nut just enough that we can take the terminal end off of the battery. Set that aside so it's making no contact. Now let's make our way up into the engine compartment. You can gain access to the cam position sensor right along this area. But to gain a little bit more access so we can get the camera view as well, I'm going to remove this engine cover. To remove the engine cover, you would just remove these two 10mm headed bolts and then carefully lift up from the rear and remove the cover. Now that I have the engine cover out of the way, we can carefully reach along the back side of the engine on the driver's side. We're looking for a 10mm headed bolt right along this area. It's a little hard to access, but if you were to use a 1/4" ratchet and a short 10mm socket, you can get right onto that mounting bolt. We'll fully remove that and the sensor, and then we can gain access to our wiring harness. There's my mounting bolt. Give this a little wiggle. Being careful not to break it off in the engine. And there's our camshaft position sensor. Now we can move along to dislodging the electrical connector. Now that we have it unbolted from the back side of the engine, we're going to go ahead and pull it up along the driver's side of the engine here so we can have clear access to our wiring harness. Looking at the wiring harness, you can see that it has a green tab. That's considered the locking tab. To separate the sensor from the wiring harness, you want to grab onto that green tab and the black part of the connector and squeeze them together. This can easily be done with a set of pliers. We'll squeeze that in. You're going to listen for a click. Once you hear that, you should be able to pull the sensor off. There it is, friends. All right, now it's time to install the cam position sensor. Let's start this from up top. We'll grab that electrical connector, pull it to where we can access it. You want to make sure that you have the green area of the electrical connector facing towards this area, which is where the locking tab would be. Once you have it in there, we'll press it together, listen for a click. If you don't feel like you can press it in enough by hand, just carefully do it with some pliers. Don't break the sensor or the wiring harness. Now once you feel as though you have it slid in there, continue on with a flathead screwdriver. We're going to carefully get in between this area and press the green part of the lock towards the outer aspect of the connector to lock it in position. Go ahead and grab onto that connector and try to pull it off of the camshaft position sensor. It should not want to slide off. Assuming that's good, let's carefully slide this into the engine. Slide this in there. Once you have it in position, you just want to line up the bolt holes, start in your mounting bolt, and snug it up. Okay, so right there it's bottomed out. I'm just going to go ahead and snug it just a little bit more. There we are. Go ahead and give it a wiggle to make sure it's completely secure. Now that we have it in there, if you had removed the engine cover, go ahead and reinsert that now. Looking at the bottom, you can see that you have two tabs that protrude down, and on the top of the intake, you have the ports for them to slide into. Line them up, press it down. Once the rear is secured, continue on to your two forward mounting bolts. Start them in, snug them up. Make sure it's secure. Now that we've got pretty much everything back together, let's continue on by reconnecting our negative battery terminal. You want to press it all the way up against the battery as far as you can, and then tighten that 10mm headed nut. Give the wire a quick shake to make sure it's completely secured. Okay friends, we've got the truck back together. At this point, you want to go ahead and close the hood, start it up, make sure you don't have a check engine light. After that, take it for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.